If intelligence created wealth, a lot more smart people would be super rich. And maybe we wouldn't have as many millionaires who just seem dumb as I'm just kidding, kind of. But I digress. All I'm saying is I think that it's unfortunate that some of the most educated, responsible, and hardworking people I know still sometimes end up being very stressed with money, feeling very behind with money. They still wonder why they don't feel financially secure or financially confident despite doing all the right things. What I think might be happening, if this sounds like you, is not necessarily that you need more financial literacy or financial education. Yes, that's all important, but what might actually be happening is you might be making some common money mistakes and having some common money behaviors that smart people are actually more vulnerable to. In this video, I want to cover 6 very common money mistakes that I want you to look out for so that you can finally get unstuck with money and start building more confidence. For those new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lissa. I'm a certified financial planner and I help women build wealth and build an abundant mindset. So if that's your vibe, make sure you subscribe. Let's dive right in. Mistake number 1, thinking more information will solve everything. This is especially one that I feel like very smart, educated people think is the answer. And that is, let me gather more information, let me learn more, because learning that next piece of information might finally unlock it for me. But here's what I see happen. People research and learn more and research and learn more. And then meanwhile, months and years go by where nothing has changed in their financial life. This is a simple phenomenon called analysis paralysis. Sometimes some people have so much information and keep gathering more information that it makes making a decision actually feel harder instead of easier. I see this all the time with investing, especially smart people who are very responsible. Don't get me wrong, it's very responsible to know that, hey, before I put money into this thing, this investment where I could lose my money, I want to learn more about it. I want to know how it works. I want to know the ins and outs. That's a very smart and responsible thing to do. I respect that. I just think there's a balance. What you don't want to happen is that you are spending 6 months trying to decide which fund to buy at which brokerage firm and what your strategy is going to be and what you'll do if the market does this or that. Those months of thinking and deciding and analyzing, those end up working against you, because using investing as an example, what you need to be successful in investing, especially as a beginner, is time. Time is your friend. So rather than worrying about market conditions for 6 months, you might as well start investing for those 6 months and see what happens. It's like the age-old saying, you can't win if you don't play. But again, it's not black or white here. It's your money. You should choose when to start. You should go based on your own comfort level. But I want this to be a reminder to you that sometimes gathering information indefinitely is less about being responsible and feeling confident in your decision and more about fear. Fear that things could go wrong and they won't go your way and that you'll lose money. So it's a matter of you figuring out what is it that you actually need to get going, stop the analysis paralysis, and just start taking actions. Mistake number 2, overcomplicating money. Smart people love optimization, being efficient, having good systems. I know this because I am one of those people. I consider myself smart, and I consider myself specifically smart with money. And I consider myself hyper efficient, just sometimes to a fault, right? I want the highest return possible. I want the perfect strategy. I want to make the smartest financial decisions and money moves. I want the most efficient path from point A to point B. But something that I have had to come to grips with in my own financial journey is sometimes when you're optimizing, especially for perfection, that can become a distraction. It goes back to the first mistake I was talking about with analysis paralysis. If you spend so many hours trying to save an extra $8 with a very specific credit card strategy, but you haven't increased your retirement contribution percentage in 5 years, there's a mismatch here, because increasing your contributions takes all of 10 seconds to do and will end up building your wealth a lot more than, the hours you're spending trying to find the best deal on something. But again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't search for those deals. It's a matter of how you spend your time and what you prioritize. I believe that little things add up. The more small financial habits you build, the more wealth you're going to build in the long run. I just think when it comes to building wealth, the principles are really simple. Spend less than you make, pay down debts, pay for your day-to-day lifestyle, save money, and invest for the future. Yes, within that, there are different strategies, there are automations, there are apps you can download, there are financial products, there are ways to optimize your whole financial life. But the common mistake I see is for people who tend to feel overwhelmed with finances, the best thing you could do is to start with the basics. Simplify things to start and then build from there. Like, redirect your focus on getting a handle of your finances one thing at a time. If that financial app you downloaded isn't working for you and you haven't opened it in a month, cancel the subscription, delete it. If you have 8 different bank accounts and it feels too much to manage, move your money into the accounts you want to keep and then close the rest. What's going to naturally happen as you build wealth is your financial life will naturally get more complex and complicated, more accounts, more insurance policies, more things to manage. You can cross that bridge when you get there. If you're struggling right now with overwhelm, the number one tip I have is to simplify as best as you can. Mistake number 3, something a lot of smart people do, is waiting until they feel ready. I'm going to use investing as an example, but I think this applies to different elements of personal finance and money. And the myth is that you have to build financial confidence before you can take action or make a smart financial decision. And I think there's some truth to that. You want to do some research and feel confident in your decision before you buy a new car and take out a car loan, or put a down payment on a house, or decide between 2 competing job offers. You want to do research, build confidence, and then make a decision. But in some cases, there's no amount of research you can do that will naturally give you the confidence. The biggest example I have is with investing. A lot of times people wait to start investing because they don't feel confident in it. They're afraid of it. They don't know enough. There are too many things that can go wrong. And investing is one of those things in personal finance where you actually build the confidence after you've taken action. After you've started investing, small amount, a regular cadence, and you just build the habit. You become consistent. That is where you build your confidence. And sometimes the outcome of the investment is irrelevant. It's you consistently taking action and building that habit and making it the norm for you to invest. That is where you build confidence. Budgeting and general money management, those are other examples. Sometimes people feel like they're unable to budget and set up a budget because they don't know how. But it's hard to know how until you dig into the numbers and you start doing it and just force yourself to learn as you go. It's rare in finance that you're going to know everything before you take action. So you kind of have to build the confidence as you go. Now, we have 3 more mistakes that I want to cover in this video, but before I continue with the list, I do want to touch on something a little bit deeper for a second, because I think this is important. I made this video around smart people who tend to be high achievers, and that's because that's how I identify. I've always been a type A, high achieving kind of person. The thing about this is high achievers have this identity around being smart. Type A people, straight A students, people who always got rewarded for getting the right answer or doing well on a group project or delivering a work project on time and under budget. In our upbringing, school rewarded us for being right. Work rewards people's expertise. And then in general, life tends to reward us for solving problems. But when it comes to money, I would argue that this is slightly different. Money often rewards behavior more than it does intelligence. And that's why I think a lot of smart people still end up struggling with money, not because they lack knowledge, but because their money behaviors don't match their knowledge. And this is why I think there is a lot more to building wealth than just financial education and literacy. It's also building a self-awareness around your mindset and your emotions when it comes to money, because it's our behaviors that ultimately determine whether or not we're able to build wealth. All right, that's my tangent. Basically, that it's not about being the smartest person in the room. With money, it comes down to being the most consistent person in the room. Moving on, mistake number 4, keeping too much cash. This one surprises people. What I mean by cash is this is liquid money that is in your wallet, in your checking account, in your savings account. Here's the thing. Saving money is important. Having liquid funds, money that is readily available to you, is very important in so many scenarios. I am not anti-savings. I think savings are very important. But something I have noticed that is very common around a lot of smart, responsible people is that they're really good savers, but they just never make that transition to becoming good investors as well. Cash at the end of the day feels safe. If your cash is in a bank account and that bank account is FDIC insured, you feel like, cool, that is always going to be there for me. It's predictable, it's not going to fluctuate, it's not going to suddenly drop in value. But the thing is, after a certain point, keeping too much money in cash creates a different problem. This is what we call inflation risk. Basically, your money doesn't grow when it's just sitting there. And in fact, it's losing value due to inflation. Even if you have your money in a high yield savings account, typically that can't keep up with inflation. So over time, if you keep all your money in cash, your purchasing power slowly shrinks. And that's the opposite of what happens when you're investing, where you are growing your value and your purchasing power. The irony is that a lot of smart people do this because they think of it as reducing risk. If I don't put my money in the stock market, I'm not risking it. Instead, I'm keeping the value of my money and being smart about it. But this approach does not acknowledge the other type of risk, purchasing power or inflation risk. As it relates to building wealth, at some point, your money needs a bigger job than just sitting there, collecting dust, and being in a safe, secure place. One of those jobs for your money is growth. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it, which I have tons of videos that talk about this, but build your emergency fund, pay off high interest debt, start saving towards retirement, and then start expanding the rest of your investments. Mistake number 5. Another common mistake that I see smart people do is they mistake income for wealth. This one is something that got me personally, because for a long time, I thought making more money would automatically solve my financial stress. I thought if I could just earn a little bit more, get a little promotion, move to a job that paid me more, that I would finally feel secure. And then I earned more, but then I somehow didn't feel secure. Now, again, this is not one of those black and white things. If you make more money, it can definitely relieve some financial stress and pressure. Having more resources can do that. But what it doesn't automatically heal is financial anxiety and financial stress. I feel like I've had a couple of cliche sayings in this video, but income is what you earn and wealth is what you keep. So at the end of the day, doesn't matter what your income is, if it's high or low, if you're not holding on to any of that, if you're not saving, if you're not growing your wealth through investing, then it really doesn't matter how much you earn because none of it stays with you. You're not growing your net worth. You're not building your financial cushion. It just comes in and then it goes out. So unfortunately, I have seen a lot of ambitious, smart people fall into this trap all the time, high earning people. I used to work at Google for over a decade and I took some time off, built my business, and I'm actually now back in corporate again in the tech world. So I am always constantly around a lot of people who earn high incomes. And what I see is a lot of times people get raises, promotions, and then that additional money, that additional income doesn't get applied to more saving and investing. It gets absorbed into lifestyle upgrades. nicer apartment, newer car, more subscriptions, more things. And that's how making more money might get you more things, more experiences, more access, but it won't automatically make you feel more secure, not unless you have a plan for your money. That's why I'm very big on the concept of paying yourself first. Before you spend money that comes into your life, new money, you should always think about how to pay future you. Save money according to a savings rate, a percentage. Same thing with investing. If you can do this and make this a habit in your life, that's how you're going to start actually turning income into wealth and building financial security a lot sooner than later. All right, mistake number 6, the last on the list. This one, I'm not going to say is just for smart people. I actually see this with everyone, but it's so important that I want to include it on the list. And that mistake is avoiding money conversations. A lot of very intelligent people avoid talking about money. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they're not interested in talking about money. I think it's usually because they don't want to sound uninformed. This is kind of backwards, right? Because you would think that smart people feel more confident talking about money. But I've actually seen the opposite as a financial coach and a financial planner. I've seen that a lot of times people who do know a lot about money don't talk about it as much because there are gaps in their knowledge. Understandably, none of us are experts in personal finance and none of us should be expected to know everything. But a lot of times intelligent people, they don't want to sound uninformed, and they also tend to feel more insecure talking about money because of comparison and comparing themselves to others around them. But here is a spoiler alert. Most people don't have it figured out. The older I get, the more I realize that very few people have all the answers, especially as it relates to money. There's even myself, having gone to school for financial planning, I don't have all the answers. There's so much to know. The most important thing you can do for yourself as it relates to money and finances is be open and ask questions. Be open to learning more information, trying new strategies, adjusting as you go, and accepting that you might make mistakes from time to time. I think some of the biggest breakthroughs in my own financial life happened because I was willing to have conversations about money and talk about it. Yes, it can be uncomfortable. You have to find the right people and the right environments to do so. But once you have that environment available to you, it opens up a whole new world of financial education. Having conversations with people about salaries, about financial goals, about mistakes and what you learn from them. Having conversations about money will grow your confidence. You just have to find the right places to have those conversations. So these are some common mistakes that I see with all people, but that sometimes smart people are more vulnerable to. And the reason I wanted to point this out is because I want to make the clear distinction that being smart, being knowledgeable about money doesn't always translate into wealth. What really matters is your behaviors, your habits, your consistency. It's the boring stuff. It's automating your finances. It's increasing your savings and investments regularly, paying yourself first, building reliable systems. It's being self-aware and being open to new information. Hopefully building this awareness helps you get unstuck if you've been feeling stuck with money. And I hope you stay motivated in your financial journey and keep building wealth. Until next time, peace out.